Yeah, I guess one of the most important things I've realized is thinking about how you want to travel rather than where you want to go. Because, the world's out there waiting for you, but you need to be comfortable in how you're traveling, in the facilities that you've got on board your motorhome, and everything else tends to fall into place. I learned a lot of things during the first month or so of owning the motorhome and being on the road full time. One was really just training myself to slow down, to remind myself I'm not in work mode, don't have a fixed itinerary. If I come across somewhere nice and the weather's good, why not change my planned itinerary and stay a couple of days longer? But it was also getting to know how my motorhome worked, what can go wrong and what can't go wrong. And, I guess the first few weeks I'd wake up in the night and get out of bed and check that the gas hadn't run out and things like that. Whereas in actual fact, your gas bottles can last a couple of weeks. And even if they do run out in the middle of the night, overnight they'll be powering your fridge, but your fridge is fine until the morning anyway. So it was really just not trying to spend too much time worrying about what might go wrong and just, riding with the ups and downs as things happen. No, look, when I was looking into buying a second-hand motorhome, I did quite a lot of research into what other costs might be involved. Obviously, insurance is a big one. There's a specialist insurer which specialises in motorhomes and caravans. They've been really good. I actually had my e-bike stolen at one stage off the back of my bike, and they were just super easy to deal with when I went through that process. The other ongoing cost I have is for my internet connection, but again, there's a specialist provider here in New Zealand, Wireless Nation, so I've got one of their 5G modems on board. That means pretty well anywhere I am in New Zealand, I can stream live sport, stream Netflix, and so that's been really good as well. With my insurance comes roadside assistance, should you ever need it. And then really, I'm reasonably meticulous in that I keep a spreadsheet. I have a monthly budget of what I'd like to spend on fuel, on holiday parks or camping fees, on food and other expenses. And I keep a reasonably close track on that, every couple of days. And that just, lets me know I'm not spending above or beyond my means. Yeah, look, to be honest, if you're considering buying your first motorhome, I would really recommend doing what I'm doing, which is to buy a quality second-hand motorhome. The great thing about my experience with Wilderness is that I knew the vehicle would have been well serviced throughout its rental life. Of course, if budget's not an issue for you and you like shiny new things, as a lot of people do, then sure, by all means, you could go out and buy a brand new motorhome off the lot. But a well-maintained, well-looked after motorhome like mine, which was just over 5 years old when I bought it, in many ways it feels like a brand new vehicle anyway. Yeah, look, Wilderness were fantastic throughout the whole purchase process. I flew down to Christchurch to pick up the motorhome. I took Paddy, my wee dog, with me, and the induction process was great, walking me from one end of the motorhome to the other. So there was a lot to take in, but there was a lot of supporting material they shared with me. I guess even now, 10 months after buying the motorhome, there are checks that I like to do on a daily basis, particularly when I'm setting out in the morning. I do a walk around the van, I check that the bike is secured, I look at the tyres, make sure that all of the external locker doors are secured, and then I check inside, I check that the skylights are closed, that the fridge has been switched off from gas, because when I'm driving, of course, it runs on the vehicle battery. So it's really like a pre-flight check if you've ever flown planes or helicopters, and it's very easy to forget. Other things to check, if when you're using a dump station, it's very easy to perhaps drive off without securing the cap on your grey water pipe, or to forget to put the cap on your fresh water tank as well. So yeah, I guess my advice would be just slow down and go through those checks. And in the early days, you might want to have a list of things that you want to check, particularly at night. Before I go to bed every night, I'll double check that all of the switches are turned off on the gas oven, that the fridge is operating as it should do on gas. I check that the hot water's switched off at night, because otherwise it's just using up LPG gas needlessly. Yeah, so just those little checks. And also, any problems, I've had minor problems that have cropped up. One day I turned on the gas stove. It wasn't working, but the gas was still working fine with my fridge. So AI came to the rescue. I just jumped online and Googled. Well, I didn't Google, I went through chat, and it advised me it was likely to be an air blockage in the pipe between the LPG bottle and the gas burner, and it easily identified, the steps I could take to fix that, and it did. It's only a matter of minutes, to be honest.
Yeah.
But again, it's doing it with the eyes wide open, because it's very easy to miss something important if you just think, I'm going to quickly walk around the van because it's raining. Safety comes first, obviously. So yeah, my advice to people would be just have a routine of checks that you do, and make sure you follow them each day. I guess for me, the most surprising thing over the last 10 months is the people I've met. Obviously, the scenery I've experienced. I've been from Cape Reinga and all over the North Island. I'm talking to, this afternoon I'm at Fox Glacier. So I've seen some fantastic sights, but it's really been the people I've met, not just other people in motorhomes, but the younger tourists that are in sliders or campervans, as they're better known. If you're freedom camping and you get talking to people, everyone's got stories to share. What helps me, of course, is I'm traveling alone with my little dog, Paddy, and he's a cute little dog, so he's a real icebreaker. If I'm out walking him, in a holiday park or in a freedom camping site, people will often come up and say, "Hey, cute dog, what's his name? Can I pat him?" Paddy invariably just rolls over on his back and presents him with his tummy to be rubbed. So, and then you start a conversation, and people might say, "Hey, we're going to have a beer at 5 o'clock. Why don't you grab a chair and come and join us?" So it's those conversations that you meet. And to be honest, it's not just fellow travelers. I was in a country pub in the North Island. One night I met a school principal who invited me to the school's Matariki celebration at dawn the next morning. And last Anzac Day I was in Rotherham, which is a tiny town in Canterbury, and I went to the dawn service there again because somebody in the pub that night had mentioned it to me. So yeah, it's just those unexpected encounters. And I guess what I had to train myself was to be open to chatting to people. We can be quite, at times, my personality might be just to spend time with myself, but I now know that I'll have a really great, fulfilling day if I just, chat with the people around me. I guess I'd add to that, I was parked up on a property in Ruatoria last year, and the owner had been out hunting overnight. So when I left the next day, he gave me a couple of venison steaks for my freezer. I've been given whitebait for free here on the West Coast. I've been given, fresh farm eggs when I've stayed at places. So people are really generous and welcoming, I've found wherever I've been in New Zealand. Yeah, so a valuable lesson for me was not to totally rely on Google Maps. And I guess I learned that lesson the hard way. I've been on the road for about 2 months and I was just south of Gisborne. Google Maps assured me it was sending me up a road that would loop back to the main highway. In actual fact, it turned out to be a farm track. And I really only realised that when the road got narrower and narrower. It was gravel, and I was heading quite steeply up a hill. And I got out of the van and looked around this hairpin bend and realised it was just leading up to the ridgeline. And so I was literally in the middle of nowhere, no one around. So I had to very slowly reverse the motorhome back down the gravel road and around a couple of bends. And yeah, it was so tricky that I was having to use a couple of my orange marker cones. I'd set them sort of 10, 15 feet behind the van, use those to line up where I was reversing to. So yeah, it was a pretty hair-raising experience, to be honest, because if anything had happened, it might have been some time before anyone found me. So I jumped online and did my research and realised that Garmin do this great RV system. It's like Google Maps, but you can input the size, weight, height of your vehicle, and it will choose routes that are appropriate for you. And I also keyed in the route that Google Maps had sent me on, and Garmin was pretty clear it was a road I should avoid. So I used that. I used the Garmin RV navigation system now every day as my my go-to planning map. No, it's been really useful, and in fact, it advised me on one road I was going to go down that there was quite a low bridge over this country road. I might have squeezed under it, but I wouldn't have liked to have tried because obviously I'm traveling on my own. I can't see what's happening above the van. So yeah, it's been really useful. Yeah, I've got a cocktail shaker on board. I like a Negroni of an evening. Um, and yeah, I carry a few other drinks, so I can mix myself up a Negroni most nights, or a pina colada, or a gin bramble. Yeah, and it's just quite nice. It's actually kicked off a few conversations if I'm outside with my table and deck chair and shaking up a cocktail. Quite often people come over, probably after a free drink, but really just to start up a conversation. And that's the great thing about, life in your motorhome. You're always meeting new people. And yeah, to me, that's one of the real highlights, as well as what you're seeing. It's who you're interacting with. I guess if you've been toying with the idea of buying a motorhome, whether it's to live in it full time like I am, or just for weekend adventures and holidays, I would say just leap in and do it. Don't waste another weekend if you're able to. Do your research. I spent several months researching motorhomes, figuring out what I wanted in the motorhome I was looking to buy, and then I looked at options of buying privately or buying off at a reputable company like Wilderness. I went down the Wilderness route because I just knew that I could have confidence in the service history of the vehicle, and that if there were any problems after the purchase, there'd be somebody on the end of the phone to help me, and that's what's turned out. Yeah, so really, I'm coming up to 300 days on the road, and I can honestly say I haven't had a bad day. So if it's something that you've been thinking about, I'd just say, leap in, boots and all.